Shanks and cell phones and cash. You're looking at real photos of real inmates in South Carolina prisons.
Kelly Wiley's investigation found South Carolina prisons are confiscating thousands of cell phones every year.
That's right. The sheer volume is startling. I spoke to a former South Carolina correctional officer who knows all too well the power and danger of a cell phone behind bars to people on the outside.
The picture is hard to look at. The story behind the scar even more disturbing. It all starts with a cell phone in the hands of an inmate.
I've been kicked, I've been punched, each time, all because of cell phone.
Captain Robert Johnson is a former correctional officer at a South Carolina prison.
And we were starting to bring them, and we were bringing cell phones in by the thousand because they were everywhere. That's their livelihood. They need that. They've got to have that to continue on in their criminal activity. So they're not going to give it up.
A need that justified murder to one inmate who Johnson said paid a man $6,000 through his cell phone to come to Johnson's home and kill him.
They said that this guy stood over me and finished emptying his weapon.
That was more than 7 years ago. But like his scar, the problem of cell phones in prison is still there. South Carolina Corrections says these photos are proof. Confiscated cell phones, cash, drugs show a life that put many inmates in prison and a life of criminal activity thriving behind bars. Cut to McCormick County Correctional, 38 miles outside of Augusta, Georgia, where an inmate there went live on Facebook during a lockdown.
There's an ongoing situation where inmates have took over the lockup, set fires in the dorm, took the keys from the police, opened up all the doors.
Surrounding McCormick Correctional are woods where cameras designed for hunters to spot deer instead capture how many inmates are getting past cell phones over and over and over and over again. Corrections Director Brian Sterling.
It's a very sophisticated operation. Well, cell phone is illegal in an inmate's hands. It allows them to easily coordinate and pay for contraband. So they can tell people where to go, where to drop it, and then they don't have to leave their cell, and they can pay via Green Dot or other services like that using their cell phone.
Sterling says SCDC spends millions of taxpayer dollars putting a Band-Aid on the problem.
And there's a simple solution, and that is blocking.
Blocking or jamming is just what it sounds like. It's blocking a cell phone from receiving a signal. But local or state governments that intentionally block communications, that's breaking a federal law from 1934, written years before cell phones even existed.
The cell phone companies don't want us to do it. And the cell phone companies keep on giving every red herring they can because they're making money on this, on the backs of our officers, and to the threat of public safety in this country.
Several U.S. congressmen sent this letter to FCC leaders requesting a meeting between correctional officials and cell phone companies within the next 120 days, saying on a daily basis, cell phones are used to plan attacks, intimidate victims, witnesses, and correctional staff.
And I want these cell phone companies and the presidents of these companies, I want them to look our officers in the face and look their family in the face and tell them and give them a good reason why we shouldn't be able to block these calls.
Captain Robert Johnson has made it his mission to disable the phones in an inmate's hands. Testifying before the FCC and visiting lawmakers on the Hill by Director Sterling's side.
I'm going to fight. They always say, just give up, not me. I'm fighting. I'm going to fight till I can fight no more.
Now, last year, the state of South Carolina confiscated 7,240 cell phones from inmates. That's 20 a day, and that's just the ones they were able to find. The FCC actually did respond to the lawmakers from that letter that you saw in the story, saying the commissioner of the FCC would facilitate the conversation between cell phone providers and the correction officials. SCDC Director Sterling says they do have bids to clear cut the woods that you saw where people were walking back there towards the prison fences, and they're still pushing for a way to prevent the calls from going out in the first place.
Thank you, Kelly, for that.